All right, today we are going to go get the 124 Smogged. It is due. It's been 2 years. And for anyone wondering, the California historical plates on an 80s and 90s Mercedes will not get you smog exempt. I saw some comments on my video for the plate saying that they didn't have to get smog, but that's not true in my instance. I don't really know what's going on with that, but at least for me, I've never had a smog exemption for this car. But that's not a big deal anyway because it passes, so let's go get it passed. And I've been doing a little bit more research on this watch. I actually had the pamphlet it came with translated. It seems like this is made by Swatch. And they do mention Omega. Swatch owns Omega, and this was actually made in 2013, not in the early 2000s like I suspected. So the reason I thought it was made in the early 2000s is because the logo, that logo was used from about 96 to 2009. So that has the correct logo for the 210 and the 124. Later model 124 would have this logo as well. So that's why I really like it. Not a big watch guy at all, but I literally only like it because it has the period correct logo for my cars. And I didn't get to capture it on camera, but when I was filming the last vlog, we crossed over 129,000 miles. That's crazy. I think I got this thing with 109, so I put 20,000 miles on this car in the almost 9 years I've owned it. Alright, so I just got back from smog. We passed, of course, no problem. So I just want to clarify a couple things. So the exhaust is completely stock, minus the AMG tips. These tips are welded onto the stock muffler. So if you look underneath, it's a little bit ugly. So you got some welds there to the stock muffler. Stock resonator, which would be about right here. And then underneath, we have an aftermarket MagnaFlow carb legal cat right there. So when I first got this car, it actually did not pass smog. The factory original cats had failed, so I replaced the failed factory cats with the aftermarket MagnaFlow cats. And in California, they do need to be carb legal, so of course that's the version I got. And ever since I've replaced them, they've passed no problem. And even before I did the head gasket or anything else, it still passed. Afterwards, of course, it still passed. I did get a couple questions asking if the cooling mods affect the emissions at all. Some people were concerned about that. At least on my car, it has not affected the emissions. I've literally gone to the smog place, let the car sit for like 10 to 20 minutes and cool off, went straight to the tester and it passed. And I'll show you the numbers in a little bit on the paper. But in my experience, the cooling mods have zero effect on the cat. It may actually have an effect on the factory cat. I know the factory cat in California at least barely passes. This aftermarket cat has never had an issue. Let's go take a look at numbers. Here are the numbers for my car. I blocked out some personal information here. So we can see here with the hydrocarbons, what I measured was 20 and 32. It's a 2-speed idle, so idle speed and 2500. So the maximum is 100. I scored 20, so that's very low. The average is actually lower than what I scored. And then 32, and then max is 130. Here are the CO2 and O2 measurements. And the CO. It's actually very low emissions considering how old the car is. I really do think this is just because of the aftermarket cats. I don't think the factory cats would score this low. If you have your factory cats and have results to measure, feel free to post them in the comments. This is what my car measures with the aftermarket cat, and like I said, I've never had an issue with it. So now we are at 129.24. So I did drive a little bit after the smog station, but really didn't put that many miles on it before I got there. In fact, it's at 129.015, so I drove it 14 miles to get there. So now we're done running errands in the car for today. We're just gonna go drive it by the beach, top down. Well, it's nice and sunny out. It's finally stopped raining in California. Clear blue skies. All right, we're going to a local cars and coffee today with the 124. I did want to take the 210 out, but I can't. I'll explain that in a second. But check this out. So shout out to on Instagram at suicide_Benz210. He got me these two-tone headrests, which I needed. So this is for an upcoming project in the future. Big thanks to him for getting these for me. Okay, so I did actually want to take this car out today, but I can't, and I really just shouldn't, because when I change out the coolant bottle right here, I over-tightened this hose in there. So that hose got over-tightened and it pinched the hose. So now there's like a small drip coming from there. It's not anything bad, like the level won't even get that low. It won't even trip the light on the dash, but it does drip, and then that does go to the floor, so it just looks worse than it is. And I don't want to push a bad situation in case something else happens. That hose is on order, as well as the other hose down there. Those are the only two hoses I didn't replace in the entire cooling system. Everything else is new. I'll go ahead and do that in the near future, and hopefully the cooling system after that will be 100%. But yeah, it's just unfortunate because I want to change the tank, I did damage that hose. That being said, check out the LEDs. They are super bright. I haven't really had a chance to drive the car with them too much. Really looking forward to when I get this car mechanically sorted like the 124. Okay, we made it. I came with my friends, so they came in their CLK 430. It's mine and Thomas's 124s, 210. Pretty crowded, way more crowded than I thought it'd be. A little dirty, a little rough. Not too bad. So this is kind of a rare sight. It's a 211 E55 without a 63 front bumper. I prefer it this way actually, especially with a carbon lip. It looks really good. Color match side markers, good options. Got Parktronic, proper wheels, 3-piece HREs, keyless go. That's a nice option. This car's actually really well done. So this is a new SL55. Looks like AMG is continuing to further dilute its brand. This 55 uses the same 4-liter bi-turbo V8 as a 63. It's just tuned for less power. But this reminds me of that SpongeBob meme.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
This is just another cash grab from AMG. It's 4-liter bi-turbo V8. Interesting interior color. And now it's no longer a hardtop, it's a soft top.